Hello, everybody. Welcome to our first Saturday session. I'm Greg Avola, co-founder, founder of Untappd. We're super excited for you to be here. This is a new session that we're going to be doing live, talking with industry experts about everything to do with brewing, beer, and especially now all about COVID-19 and things that we can do to help these breweries out there. I'm super excited to share the stage today with my good old friend, Todd Alström. Todd, welcome to the show. Thanks for having me on.
Greetings. Thanks, Greg.
Awesome. And we have our special guest today. You know him as the face of the beer industry, for lack of a better word. Sam Calagione, all the way from Dogfish Head. Sam, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate you being on the show today.
Hello, Greg. Hello, Todd. I'm psyched to be here.
Hey, Sam.
How are you doing?
Yeah, Sam and I have go way back, but Todd goes way back with Sam. Has been on for a very long time. So we're very excited to have everybody on the air today, talking all things about things you're working with, Sam, with the brewery, especially in this time of need out there. And we're very excited about all the things that you're going to want to share, especially on the show today. So before we get started, though, the most important part of any type of session is about what we're drinking. So Sam, tell us what was in your can that you just drank in there, and we'll go around the table here.
I got a backup, which I'll get to later. So I got for first half of the show, I'm having a Sequench Ale, which is probably my go-to darty beer. And since it's very bright and sunny middle of the day here, I'm starting with a low ABV Sequench and staying to your theme, very sessionable, 4.9 ABV for Sessionable Saturday.
Hey, look at that. You're tying it all together. I don't have to feed you anything. You're already on the train right now. We love it. So, Todd, what are you drinking over there?
I mean, some might not consider it sessionable, but, we're in a pandemic right now. So I get to define what I consider as sessionable. So this is, I think it's called Figueroa Mountain. I'm drinking their Hoppy Poppy. It's a IPA, 6.5% out here in California. First time I had it, it's delicious. I love it.
Nice.
How about you?
For me, I don't know if you've heard of this beer before, but it's pretty popular. It's called 60 Minute IPA, made by a brewery out in Delaware. I think it's called Dogfish Head. Is that right? I'm pronouncing it correctly here. So this is one of the first beers I had in coming over to the craft world. It's just a great all-around IPA. We really enjoy it having it around here in the house here. So that's what I'm drinking too. Also, a lovely Dogfish Head glass. I'm just totally milking it up right now.
Wow.
Right?
See,
I told this to Sam before. I've had a chance to travel down to Dogfish Head in Delaware numerous times. One of the things I love about the brewery down there is they have their own inn, the Dogfish Head Inn, which I've stayed at numerous times. I know you have as well, Todd. It's a very unique experience when you're in the beer industry and you're working with beer, or even if you're just a fan of it, that everything kind of come together. You're at a great brewery, you have great restaurants down in the Rehoboth Beach area, and you have a hotel. It's like you don't have to really do anything. That's your vacation. So my wife and I have done that for many years now, going down there, and I picked that up when I was down there last.
Room
Nice.
25.
And Todd, you got to tell the story, the very romantic Todd and Candace story.
Yeah, I mean, we're going back about 5 years or so now, but we were scheduled to go do collaboration beer. We do one for every Extreme Beer Fest. So we had one scheduled. My wife and I at the time were trying to have a kid, and she was like, well, we got to do something because you're going when we're supposed to be trying. So you either have to stay here or I'm coming with you. So we booked the ticket, and we booked the ticket for Candace. We ended up all going down there, and we tried in room 25, and it worked.
So
yeah.
Now that's the wedding suite room 25.
There you go.
Just
right?
don't bring one of those
Blue lights.
Yeah, don't bring a blue light in
Very
there. And
cool.
I would have had my Dogfish Head beer with me in my glass and placard on the back, but I didn't. The check didn't show up in time. So next time. But I got
our logo's small in that shirt. I think somewhere. Both of our logos are on there now.
No, it's a straight up beer.
Oh, okay. My lawyers will be calling your lawyers. So.
That's fine.
Well, at least you got you on the tin tacker right behind me, so we got some representation there.
Love it.
So very cool stuff. Well, let's get right into it here. Obviously, with COVID-19 happening, as we see the entire brewing industry kind of really going through a tough time here. We've seen Dogfish Head really make some waves recently in the midst of everything. We're doing great things, Sam, as you've done some stuff within the hand sanitizer from your distillery. I think a lot of people might not even know that Dogfish has a wine and spirit section as part of their your suite of products there. Can you talk about a little bit how that came to be and all about that fun stuff?
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, necessity is the mother of invention, and in this kind of crisis moment, every day is different. And when the COVID was just getting onto our shores, obviously it proliferated in Asia and Europe before it did in the U.S. And so 3 or 4 weeks ago, when it was really going off in Europe, David Grinnell, who runs brewing for Sam Adams, emailed me a photo of a distillery in Europe that converted some of their capacity to make hand sanitizer, because the core ingredient in sort of World Health Organization defined recipe hand sanitizer is high proof ethanol alcohol. And so when he sent me that, I was like, duh, that's what we gotta do. And so that Saturday I emailed James Montero, who runs our distillery, and said, hey, when we come in on Monday morning, let's start putting this recipe together and let's start bottling the hand sanitizer. We converted our little nip bottles for our alcohol into hand sanitizer bottles. And we thought, when I went into work that Monday, I thought we would just be making it for our own production facilities and our own coworkers to keep us safe, because we are producing beer still. We take everyone's temperature when they come in. We issue them a mask. We've been very careful. But by noon that day, we got a call from the governor's office saying that their Delaware State's supplies were running low, and so we decided to go into this hand sanitizer business, and we didn't feel good making a profit off of that crisis situation. So every when we sell the hand sanitizer state, we take all the profits from the sale, and Mariah and I seeded a fund with the Delaware Restaurant Association. Right. Through our foundation, Mariah and I put in $50,000, and then the profits from the sales of the hand sanitizer go into that fund as well. And it's already money's coming out of that fund to hospitality industry workers in Delaware who have been put out of work. As we all know, the restaurants and bars have gone to carry out only. So all the waiters and waitresses and bartenders don't have an income. So that's what we're using the profits from the sale to the state of the hand sanitizer to give back to that community.
And I remember watching the New York Times opinion video that we shared on social media, where you guys made your first batch, and the people at the hospital said, "Hey, we rather smell like nothing instead of smelling like we walked out of a nightclub there." So, I guess you had some iterations that you're working through with the hand sanitizer to get to the final production stage, as I assume. Yeah, we were like, oh, we took a wood aged. Because we were in a rush because the hospital was almost out, and so we're like, fuck, what do we have right now? All right, let's take this barrel aged gin that we made and add these other ingredients to it and make this hand sanitizer. And they got it, and it, like you said, it smelled like a nightclub or tongue kissing Laura Ashley.
Hey, do you have some of that left? Asking for a friend.
You can ingest it. It'll give you explosive diarrhea, but it'll give you a
no. I just love the gin that you guys make.
Oh, okay.
If I could cover my body with it and not look like a weirdo, that'd be great.
Yeah. So that would be a collector's item.
Very cool. You talked about the restaurant eat fund that you put together. Was that because of the sanitizer, or how did you guys get involved with that situation in terms of giving back to those people in Delaware that are impacted by COVID-19?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a challenging moment to be a brewery and restaurants or a restaurateur, and I think 52% of jobs in America are created by small businesses. That's an SBA statistic. So getting this economy back on its feet is first and foremost about getting small businesses back on their feet. So Mariah and I feel strongly about this community that we came from, and the restaurant community that buys our beer. We're not only brewers, we're restaurateurs ourselves. So that made sense for us to focus on that first as a way to help our community get back. We also chose, even though we could have our restaurants open for takeout right now, we chose to shut them down since our economic engine is mostly our brewery and distillery. So we want to focus on running our production facilities, but then actually we're buying food from the other restaurants in town for our production workers and ourselves as our family takeout, which we can talk about. I'm sure all of us are finding ways to help small breweries and restaurants in our neighborhood. And I'd love to hear what you guys are doing too, but that's definitely what we're doing down here in Delaware.
Yeah, in terms of what we're doing, ultimately, a lot of the stuff that we focus on has always been social, right? So we've been a social application, and same with Todd from the forum perspective. And we want to be able to give people the information about where they can go to get their beer delivered, or where they can get food pickup. So, we were rushing just like you when it came to developing this application. So we didn't really have a great name. So we just called it Greg's List, and as a simple name, and it kind of stuck from that perspective, which is a way for people to go and find out what their local spots around them, what they're delivering, what brewers are delivering, where food orders can be ordered online as well. I know personally in Connecticut, there are a lot of breweries that now can deliver to your door because the government just simply changed the rules for regulation on delivery, which helps significantly these small breweries that rely on those taproom sales, rely on those things to go through. So we want to give people the opportunity to know where to go and what options are out there, which is why we kind of started that list for people to kind of get a better understanding of what's out there from that side.
That's awesome. And Todd, I know California is getting props now for how militant that your state government was from the early days of locking stuff down. That's been awesome to keep the spread of the virus lower than a lot of
Yeah, he's
states.
done a really good job. The governor's done a great job.
But what has it meant for your capabilities of finding good local beer compared to what Greg mentioned it's like in Connecticut right now?
Well, I'm kind of lucky. So I live about a mile, less than a mile from the Firestone Walker, the propagator. They're open. So they have a pretty much contactless setup, but I could order online. They went through I forget the name of the company that they're using, but you could all order online, leave my tip and everything. I just kind of walked right in and it was waiting for me on the bar there. So I did that once the other day. I bought a good amount of beer. I plan on doing it again soon. And then I might kind of broaden that, and I'm trying not to go out, but if I do, I might try to go support another one of the local breweries.
We actually have a question. We have a question in the chat from Paul Shim asking, has Dogfish ever thought of doing curbside pickup for beer or delivery? I don't know if you can answer that, Sam.
Yeah, we right now are kind of committed to this, our decision to keep our retail location close to the public for the safety of our coworkers and our community, other than our production brewery and distillery. But like I said, we've been going out and buying beer from local restaurants. I rode my bike with my friends a couple of weeks ago from Lewis to Rehoboth, and we stopped at the tasting room of Revelation Brewery, which is right on that bike path.
Love that place.
Yeah, they do cool work there. And so we stopped and bought some crowlers from them and brought them home. So we're trying to find ways to social distance, but still engage with the local brewing community, both going direct, but then, not just trying to help the locals. Like when Mariah went to the R&L liquor store last week, we brought home some Dogfish, some Truly, some Maine Beer Company, some big 16-ounce of lunch and dinner, and some Sierra as well. So we're trying to spread the love, not just local breweries, but other breweries from around the country that we love of all sizes.
Awesome. Yeah, speaking how you've got, you're doing hand sanitizer, you have the relief fund that you're talking about here. Obviously, Sam Adams, who has their restaurant fund that's been going on very well as well for many states in the United States. Do you have any advice for other breweries out there that are struggling to find ways to get new customers through the door in this crisis? You've obviously talked about hand sanitizer, but not every single brewery has an arm or the ability to do that. Are there things you recommend in terms of steps these breweries can take to kind of prevent this from getting too bad?
Yeah, I mean, I would say check in first with your state brewers guild to understand how the guild and its members can engage with the government and the community. That's going to be your first, I think, conduit for better intel on how you can engage in this moment of crisis, proactively. And then checking in with your local government as well. That's like what we did with the governor's department for the sanitizer. And it might, not be sanitizer. They might say, hey, are you sitting on an old supply of T-shirts that we can have to repurpose into masks or whatever it is? There's lots of ways to give back. So that's probably where I'd recommend people start.
And Sam, Dogfish Head has always been, at least for me, it's been known as being a very innovative company. And what are some ways that, and also very much ahead of the game as far as it comes to social media and connecting with fans. But what are some of the ways that you're connecting with fans during this time, and maybe some suggestions for others?
So Mariah and Janelle are the big bosses on social media at our company. I don't really do it, but they're freaking awesome at their jobs. And I appreciate like how sensitive they are. You know, every post that we consider putting up, it's vetted through, is this appropriate for this moment, you know? So
right. It's not you firing off tweets.
Right. And it's not yet, right? It's also it's challenging because you want to talk about your love of beers, but you don't want to come off super salesman-y right now. So the messaging is really important, the tone as much as the content, and they've done a really good job of navigating that. So right now they're doing some stuff about asking people to send photos from their favorite moments of them enjoying a dogfish, just to get people out of the anxious moment and into a fond memory, a beer memory, and that's been cool to watch. What's been some cool things on both of your forums and your sites where you've seen users engage in a discussion that led to something good that they were able to do with a local brewery or with their community that came out of their connection to your forums?
Well, for us, we started a separate forum on the website specifically for COVID-19. There's a lot of discussions there if you go there right now. And there's just people connecting, sharing stories. We kind of rebooted our industry forum too. I'm hoping that's going to be more of a long-term project. But even better, we just rebooted our Ask Me Anythings. That's been well received. So we had Larry Bell join us on Thursday. I think he's still answering questions. I know we got Greg joining us soon. And I'd love to get you on it too.
For those, so that's pretty fun.
Yeah, it'll be fun. So I'll talk to you on the side, but I'd love, Greg's going to be on it soon, and I'd love to get you hosting a thread. And that's just a great way during this time for names like yourselves to kind of connect with fans and kind of discuss some of the issues and just get a little personal with people too.
Yeah, we launched this kind of live Sessionable Saturdays and virtual happy hours to connect with our community and get them talking about beer in a safe, responsible way. So we launched Untappd TV, which is a great way for people to kind of see those things in real time. But the biggest thing we've done, I think, with the exception of Greg's list, is we added a global venue in the Untappd world called Untappd at Home, really trying to nail down the social responsibility of being distant. We know that a lot of breweries and bars can't accept patrons at this time, so we wanted one venue that everyone can check into around the world and kind of show what they're drinking. We launched this about 2 weeks ago, and there's over almost 3 million check-ins now that's happened over that particular thing. So it's crazy to see the comments come through, the picture. I think it's really uplifting to kind of be part of this community all together in one venue, and also promoting social distancing. So that's a really cool thing that we're working on.
And what was the one you're doing a happy hour that you time it to be kind of in a sweet spot for both American and international audiences?
Our virtual happy hour right now is every Thursday at 7, and then this Saturday session that we're just starting now is going to be the international kind of time slot because, at 7 p.m. on a Thursday, that's maybe 1 a.m. in some areas. So we want to be able to be conscious of that. Untappd's a U.S. company, but we think global when we're doing things. We always try to include our friends across the pond. A lot of people don't realize this, but look at the top 5 checked-in cities around the world. 3 out of the 5 are international cities. We have no presence over there in terms of people physically under Untappd. So we want to appreciate them, and beer is a global thing and a global community. I always tell the story is that you're never going to see Coke and Pepsi collaborate together to make a soft drink, but you're going to see that in the brewing industry very often. So we wanted the same thing when it comes to our social infrastructure there.
That's what's cool of watching the Untappd universe and BeerAdvocate universe come together. What is, out of curiosity, for each platform, what are the top 5 cities?
Well, top 5 cities, at least we picked up from Untappd, it was Chicago and New York. They trade every week. It depends on whether there's a big event happening after there. Then we have London, Amsterdam, and I believe the last one is Sweden. I don't know the exact city there off the top of my head, but it's crazy. I mean, just being from the very beginning, I never would expect anyone outside of my state of Massachusetts to check in a beer. So it's great to see that kind of growth out there from that side.
How about you, Todd?
Yeah, our top states are kind of usually around the same. It's California, Massachusetts, Ohio will be in there, and usually there's like a Florida, Texas might pop up too.
Uh-huh.
Nice.
Yep.
Ahead of New York.
New York's will be up there too. There'll be some that'll kind of shift their positions from time to time. And as far as international, it would have to be Canada after that, and Australia.
Very cool.
Yep.
Nice.
Speaking about how as COVID has affected obviously everything we do in the beer industry and the brewing industry, there's a lot of in the tech world. I've been seeing a lot of people post about companies that were founded basically in the financial crisis of 2008, and they're still here today. Obviously, with a lot of changes happening at the government level and the state level. Sam, do you think there are going to be new trends that are come out of this that are positive for the beer industry? Like, for example, in Connecticut, breweries now can deliver. Do you think these things will last through this and even after the COVID, or what do you think the trends will be after COVID lifts?
That's an awesome question. I mean, we as sort of help bring the different tiers of the industry together. We did an event, I think it was last week, with Brewbound, a live event where we brought in small brewers, bigger craft brewers like us, and on-premise restaurateurs, and people that run big grocery stores, beers, and just sharing best learnings across the tiers to help each other in this moment. And then the other panel for that event were the three heads of the three trade groups, the Brewers Association, Beer Institute, and NBWA, which is a wholesalers group, and they had a really lively, debate and discussion about that, because the three-tier system, I believe the craft brewing movement would have never happened without it. It gives small brewers a equal playing field, to get to market. But let's face it, over 90% of the craft breweries in America now operate outside the three-tier system as direct to consumer taproom breweries, and it's just amazing. And 2 years ago, that was considered 6 months ago, it was considered a bulletproof business model. Exactly. When you have a tasting room brewery, consumer comes buy a pint from you. You as an entrepreneur keep 100% of that $6 or $7 pint. Yep. Whereas when you go to a bar in Connecticut and you have Dogfish, that pint, that pint, when Dogfish actually made less profits from that than the distributor or the retailer. So it's and then you flip now to this COVID moment when these tasting room breweries can only go takeout or curbside or whatever. It now becomes a more challenged business model than those breweries that are of scale that sell the majority of their beer through the three-tier system. So, I mean, anyone's guess is as good as mine, but I do think this will be kind of an economic Darwinism moment, and it's going to be unfortunate, but I think the breweries that will get back to strength fastest, it'll have nothing to do with the scale of those breweries. It'll be the breweries that make awesome beer. The consumers, through your websites, through their friend groups, they'll find and champion and figure out a way to help the awesome brewers, regardless of scale, get back on their feet, is my thoughts.
Brewery to consumer. I think we're going to see a lot of that.
I think a lot has happened pre-COVID as well. There are a lot of breweries that have started to do those direct to consumer that you mentioned, Sam and Todd, about that. And I think, if you'd ask somebody in the beer industry, would someone wait 3 hours in line at other half in New York for a can of beer, they'd tell you you're crazy. And now that's like part of the culture, which that's another discussion overall if that's a good thing for the beer industry. But I do think that's a good way for people to be able to get that product in their hands faster and easier, and supporting these breweries too. Nothing against distributors or any of that things in there, but sometimes that does work in favor for everybody from that side.
Yeah. Do you guys think that we might get to a place where certain state laws change to make it easier for small breweries to do direct business, or do you think that's the three-tier system and the lobbyists that support it will contain that and make it only up until we're through the crisis moment?
That's a great question. I mean, I think some of it will stick. I mean,
it's just how laws change, right? It's pressure from people happening. So we're in a situation where things had to change to protect the economic situation of these breweries. So, they already have been doing that now for almost a month or whatever it is. What happens after? I mean, you're right, Todd. I mean, it could stick.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Todd. Sorry.
I was going to say, in the meantime, is there anything else that, aside from consumers going out to their local brewery when they can and purchasing beer, is there anything else consumers can do in the meantime to help out the industry?
Well, I would say helping out the restaurants that support indie craft beer right now is just important as helping the indie craft breweries who sell some of their beer to those restaurants. And that might mean a restaurant that chose not to be even open for takeout. Can you get to their website? Can you buy a gift certificate? Can you buy a hat and a shirt? Something that helps them with revenue, but also just lets them know that you're thinking about them and rooting for them when they get reopened is really critical right now. There's the revenue component of it, and there's just the morale. I'm talking with lots of local restaurateurs, who sell Dogfish and are friends of mine, and just trying to, it's a desperate moment, and trying to navigate the CARE Act and how to take advantage of it. That's easier if you're a restaurant group that has 30 people and it has an HR manager and a communications manager and an attorney on staff. If you're a mom and pop restaurateur trying to navigate this to make sure you're maximizing your opportunity to take advantage of what the state and the feds are offering you, that's freaking hard and exasperating work. So showing them that you're there for them and rooting for the little guys right now is an important opportunity, however you can do it.
Agreed.
Awesome. Couldn't have said it better. As we're approaching the end here, I want to open it up to see if there are any questions from the audience out there listening. We really appreciate you tuning in on this Saturday afternoon. As we talk to Sam, founder and president of Dogfish Head. We have some questions already in the chat from Robert. He asked, will Dogfish beers in Europe, will there be Dogfish beers in Europe in the foreseeable future? I'm not sure if you can answer that yet in terms of international expansion in this time of need.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're one of the last of sort of the top 20 IRI defined craft brands that doesn't distribute in Europe, and but we've got some great relationships over there with brewers and distributors and beer lovers. And what's great about Europe is, in general, the brewers can that model. There's opportunities to work direct with the brewers to get your beer to market in a lot of countries. So, full disclosure, we're having some informal discussions with the hope of doing that in the coming years, but nothing that's, gotten to a definitive timeline or anything. We're just keeping those conversations going.
So, Robert, when COVID lifts, get on a plane, come over to Delaware, then you can have all the Dogfish Head beer that you want, because you can't go anywhere in Delaware without having a Dogfish Head beer. Let's go to Stuart, who says, can you comment on whether you ever bring back a special beer, Higher Math? That was my favorite beer from 2015 anniversary. And what about that beer there, Sam?
Yeah, so that was like a massive cherry beer. It was an homage to my first ever homebrew, which is a cherry pale ale, but it was like a huge 20% ABV one. We have got requests for that one. What's super cool is I just had a social distancing lunch with Todd and I's mutual friend, Brian Selders, who we often do our Extreme Fest collabs with at our Rehoboth pub, and he and I just had a social distancing lunch on the dock here in coastal Delaware, and we had some Wawa subs and some 60 Minutes from 8 feet away.
Wawa.
We talked about our new canning line that we put into Rehoboth just for small batch 4-pack 16-ounce beers, and we're going to be bringing a lot of throwback beers into that program. One we talked about today that was probably a favorite early beer we did at Extreme Beer Fest was Wrath of Piquant. Remember that one, Todd?
That was great. Yeah.
So maybe we'll bring back Wrath of Piquant and Higher Math. So never say never. I know Shelter Pale Ales.
I love Shelter Pale Ale. That was my first. That was a great one.
That one's due to make a comeback, and there'll be others too in that program.
Nice. Another question from John. Do you know what the top Dogfish Head consumption cities are in terms of, we talked about in our side where we see the most. Do you guys have some, like a list off the top of your head of the kind of biggest consumption parts are?
So what we can tell is where our distributors, are buy the most beer, and it's challenging math, because some states the distributor does the entire state, like Delaware. And then some states it's broken up with different distribs, but by and large, like your guys' list, it fluctuates a little, but Delaware is always in there, and New Jersey because of proximity and scale, and because they're awesome beer drinking population in New Jersey's always in top 5. Maryland and Virginia are always in top 5, and then New York, Massachusetts, Ohio kind of go in and out of that list as well. So predominantly East Coast, as you'd envision. and more Mid-Atlantic based concentric circles from there.
Cool. I want to take one more question. This one's from Corey. Sam, you're known as a writer with few popular books. Any new ones in the works? So unrelated to beer, any new writings over this COVID-19 time period?
Oh, let's see. So, yeah, I don't know that we've announced it yet, but we're Mariah, my wife, and I, and Andrew, who runs our innkeeper. Andrew is a fellow recovering English major. The three of us are co-authoring a book with Wiley Distributing about the first 25 years of our off-centered journey, kind of modeled after the recent Beastie Boys book that was really kind of design and photography forward and very informal narrative throughout it, very like conversational, and it's been a cool experience. Like, we forced ourselves to basically audio tape every part of the book while we're having a beer, because we want the voice to be as if we were sitting by the fireside at our hotel, just reminiscing about the first 25 years, and trying to put that into book format was kind of the goal we had. So I think that book will come out now. Because of COVID, it was supposed to come out on our anniversary, our 25th anniversary, which is late June. I think now it's looking more like early fall. So be on the lookout for that. I recently wrote a story for Popular Mechanics about homebrewing with my son. I wanted to mention on your
I read that. That was a good article.
Good. But I just want to encourage all the folks that are tuning in to say that what a fun hobby that is to do if you're stuck in your home right now with your kids, whatever age they are, even if they're just the bottle helping or making the labels as a kid. Homebrewing right now is an awesome way to bring families together and keep mom and dad from fighting when they can have a few of those at the end of the night.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, thank you so much, Sam. Really appreciate it. Todd, Sam, thanks for your coming on the show today. I want to thank all the viewers out there for all their support and listening in. Really appreciate all the great stuff you're doing, Sam, especially with the hand sanitizer, really setting the bar for other breweries out there. It's very innovative. It's off-centered, and basically that's exactly what your brand is. So we really appreciate that. Make sure you check in on Untappd and tag at home. Practice social distancing. It's very important for us to flatten the curve, and we'll get through this together. Remember that we're having a series of these episodes every Saturday as well as every Thursday. Our next show is our virtual happy hour next Thursday at 7 p.m. We're going to have Danny Connors from Rogue Ales on, talking all things about Rogue Ales and what they're doing in COVID-19. So thanks, everybody. Stay safe, and thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Cheers.
Thanks, thanks, Greg.
See you, Sam.
Your
Thanks,
local
Greg.
craft breweries. Stay safe.
Cheers.
Cheers.